Hello everyone. What I am about to say is incredibly difficult to say, and I am doing this live from an undisclosed location with the intent of speaking the truth and clarifying matters. I understand that what I am about to say may have severe implications, and especially for myself. And I've taken the last few days to really think and meditate about what is the most appropriate response for me regarding this matter. As some of you may know, for the last 2 months, also I would like, before I get into it, I would like to say that I have no agenda. I personally do not like or appreciate politics, and I do not want to be involved in anything political, and I stand to lose much more from saying this than I stand to gain. I also apologize that this live will be in English because I really need to think about what I have to say, and it's easier to say it in my mother tongue. There has been many statements given, there has been many things posted on Facebook, on live, on Facebook, on social media regarding recent events. There's been many people speaking out of turn with little knowledge of what they're talking about. But that's just the point. Very few have actually known what has gone on behind the scenes. Very few have understood the exact circumstances of everything. However, over 2 months ago, I was employed by Philip Among to be part of his company, Davao Bay. I thought it was an answer to my problem. As many of you may know, that I have been searching for a long time for employment. Over 1 year, I didn't have any wage, and then my work pass had expired. I had applied for a couple of extensions, and then I was informed that those extensions would no longer be given after the second extension. So my next action was I approached Datuk Masidi, who was very kind and gave me a letter of support regarding my case. And he also wrote to the Chief Minister, and the Chief Minister's office also gave me a letter of support regarding my case. And the letter of support for them to extend or to help me to stay here in Sabah. So I did everything within my power to remain here legally and to do the right thing. And when I took those letters of support to the immigration, they were willing to accept the letters of support. However, they stated that I still needed a company. It was at that point that I continued looking for a company that could take me on. And when Auntie Joanna Kitingan suggested Philip Among, who had at that time been appointed as the technical production for Unduk Ngadau, I'm not sure of the official title. When I met Philip, I already knew from his behaviour that he was a difficult person. And this is, I'm not saying anything here that's accusation or anything to try and anything apart from my own personal experience, my own observations, and what has been directly said to me, okay? So this cannot be held as defamation or in any way because this is my personal experience that I am sharing with you all now. And I am sharing this in this format, not because I'm afraid of or I want to go against due process. I am also very willing to make an official statement to the police who are investigating the case. However, up until this point, no one has contacted me, which I find incredibly strange considering I am a key witness who has been there for the entire time and for all the aforementioned events that you have seen posted on. Which I will explain shortly. I'm doing this as a live because I want you to see that I'm not being fed anything. I'm doing this out of my own initiative. No one is influencing me. In fact, the majority of people that I've talked to have told me to stay quiet, to lay low, told me that it will have a worse outcome for me to speak out, which I believe. But I'm not about self-preservation, and I'm tired of being bullied and intimidated and used. And I did stay quiet for the past few days because I wanted also to see how things were panning out. But seeing the tactics of I forget his name, this lawyer, Jude Marcel, has been using of fear and intimidation disgusts me. I understand that the lawyer's job is to defend his client, but I believe defense can be done without attacking, without mob tactics of fear and intimidation and accusing everyone else and trying to discredit them, which I'm sure that they're going to do to me after this live. My experience can only be described the last 2 months as an incredible nightmare. A nightmare which I've been hoping would end, but just continues to get on, continues to drag me deeper inside. My personal experience with Philip, I do not hate him. In fact, he has at times shown incredible kindness to me. But I despise the very things he says and does and stands for. I consider him to be racist, misogynistic, narcissistic, and I will prove that by the things that he has said to me, which I believe anyone can back up, because he says it publicly all the time. He feels that he's untouchable, that he's above the law, and as he claims to me regularly, cash is king. He believes that the rules don't apply to him. And he has shown this in many ways. In the last 2 months, I only had 3 days off. Myself and my team were pushed to the absolute limit. We were constantly pushed to work 12 to 14-hour days. Not only have I not been paid overtime, I haven't even been paid for the last month. On top of that, the promise he made to do my work pass, to complete my work pass, has not been done. And it's left me here now stranded as an illegal immigrant, overstayed at no fault to my own, because I have tried everything to do it the right way. But nothing he does is the right way. Starting with his constant screaming and abuse at all of his staff, which I have personally confronted him on a number of occasions, and he claims that it's the only way. But I have worked for other companies, and it is not the only way to be screaming and have little respect or regard for people who work for you. I have witnessed him body shame his own employees, calling them fat in front of all of us in meetings, telling them that he makes them work on the top floor so that they have to walk up the stairs and down the stairs so that they will lose weight. I've witnessed him constantly hurl abuse at people, scream, throw tantrums, and then he feels that it's justified, it's okay, because in the end of the day, he's okay. And he will take us for dinner as if that makes up for everything. I have tried to pick my battles with him. I have not stayed silent. I have talked to him. I have told him my personal views. I told him that I could not agree with the way he talks to the staff, with it. He screams and hurls abuse. And he says that it's the only way. In fact, he then tells me that I need to be more like him, and that he wants to groom me to be more that way, and I have to be more firm and strict. And I try to explain that the difference between being firm and being an asshole. And I can be firm, and I was firm with my staff when I needed to be, but I refuse to become an asshole and to scream and to hurl abuse at people. I'm sorry. I understand that some of you may not understand what I'm saying in English, but I'm sure there's people that can help translate what I'm saying for you. As I explained, it's important for me to say this in a language that I can think about. Philip is the type of person that that manipulates and plays mental games. He has never, the whole time I've been, he's never admitted he's wrong. Not once. Despite the many challenges we faced. Yes, we had challenges during the organization of the Unduk Ngadau with the changing of SOPs and everything. But a lot of them were his mistakes, which he refused to accept. He either blames all of us, or he just says, oh, lessons learned. But he will never accept the mistake himself. When I've tried to approach him on these topics, he makes out like I'm the crazy one. He makes out like I'm the one that has a problem. He says I'm a complainer, that I'm chaperone. But my complaints were legitimate. For instance, when I complained the fact that when we were shooting at Sutra Harbour, we were there every day, and my team of young, but just graduated from school kids were there every day, working 12 to 14 hours days, every single day, back to back. And he didn't pay for a hotel or for them to stay there. He didn't provide meals, even a dinner. And when I confronted him, he made it that it was my fault because I never asked for it. But I said, at that time, I just apologized. I didn't know what to say. I was speechless. I said, fine, I'll take it as my fault. But when I thought after it, I realized how manipulated I was being. And then he would never have done that if it was an Unduk Ngadau. If it was a beautiful woman, he would never have not thought about it, but he can't think about his own staff. Constantly, for the last 2 months, we were working 12 to 14 hour days average. We worked every public holiday. We worked Sundays, Saturdays, no day off. And when I said to him that this is not even legal, and I told him that him pushing the kids to work like this is not even legal, he said, let them try and report, let them try and sue, see what happens. Because he felt untouchable, and he feels untouchable. And no wonder when you see what type of lawyer they represent who is willing to say and do anything in order to distract and dismiss from his actual attitude. What you've heard about him and his language on a sexual nature is only scratching the surface. Every single day he would boast to me about his sexual exploits. He would make lewd jokes, which I never invited, and I never gave any comment to show that I appreciated them or that I was wanting to take part. Most of the time I just stayed quiet. And so many people can back me up on this, because he made these jokes in front of all the Unduk Ngadau and the makeup artists and the managers who were there for photo shoots. He would joke about, bagus tidak payah pakai baju juga, or about them being in bikinis, or he would talk to me about which one paling sedap begini. He would constantly talk about it. He would boast about how he has a child. Every child of his is to a different woman, and he wants more children to more different women. And sebab lain perempuan lain rasa. This is the type of man he is. This is the type of thing he would say every day. Every single day, I felt conflicted. It went against everything I believe in morally and ethically, and I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know who I could trust, who I could speak out to. I tried to just let it all slide. I mean, the reason I took this job was, one, because I was desperate, and two, because the promises he made, that he had bought land in different places, including Mangalum Island, that he was going to build a resort, that I could help him set up the resort. And I proposed to him about one of my personal dreams of building a coral reef. And he said that he was all for that idea. So this was one of the things that convinced me to take the job. Plus he promised that he was setting up production. He wanted to do documentaries all around. And I said, yes, that sounds great. So I was under the impression that things might get better, but they never did. They just got worse and worse. And witnessing of him daily screaming abuse or talking disgusting innuendo and jokes that I never invited. I'm sure that many, many people can back me up on this, because he did it in front of everyone. Now, as I said, I was not going to say anything for a while. I was watching how things panned out. But when I saw his lawyer attacking people, and I saw that his political party was backpedaling and said they even felt regret for suspending him. That's not what you should feel regret for. They should feel regret for ever allowing him to be in that position in the first place. I have only been with the man for 2 months, and I know his character. I know that he has an extreme narcissistic personality disorder. I know the way he talks about women as absolute objects that he can just take for his pleasure. And yet they regret suspending him. They should regret the fact that it was them who appointed him to be in charge of the Unduk Ngadau, knowing who he was and how he thinks about women. That should be their regret. So their regret to me is another disgusting, appalling that I just cannot. Of all the things to regret. He would talk to me about how he would get a hotel room with full of 18 to 19-year-olds, all virgins, and he would have sexual relations with them until he was bored. He would constantly make sexual dirty remarks, even about the women of the Unduk Ngadau committee. He said, when they were all dancing and having fun, he said to me, well, if only they were a few years younger, then we could enjoy. I know that Philip is probably feeling betrayed right now about me speaking out. He wouldn't be expecting it. And I'm not accusing you, Philip, of anything. that I haven't seen or heard. But what I will say is this: how do you think girls feel when they trust you and they feel that their trust is betrayed? How do you think they feel? This is why I'm speaking up, because I watched to see your reaction and you did not show sorrow, you did not show forgiveness, you did not show mercy, you did not show, sorry, that's the wrong words. Not forgiveness. He just didn't show he was sorry. And instead he threatened to attack them. He threatened to sue them. He threatened to sue this girl. Now, here's the interesting thing. And this is the real bomb. His lawyer is claiming that there was no witness. Well, I was not there in the car. But her first report starts at the studio. And I was there at the studio. And this is what I saw. It was last minute, which is what his style is. He repeatedly just threw up things last minute, despite how busy we were and how many challenges we had. The day before, we had already shot all of the Putih contestants. We had shot them as a kind of fun video photo shoot in evening gowns. And it was fun. It was probably the most enjoyable shoot that I did in the entire time I was there. But then the next day, towards the afternoon, like late afternoon, all of a sudden he says, there's another girl we have to shoot, just like yesterday. Now all of my team were busy doing videos. So, and I had already shot the ones before, so I just took on the job. I said, fine. But I said, who is this girl? Is she from Putih? No, I won't say where she's from. Then he said he was sponsoring her, and then our team did the makeup for her, everything, and I had to take the photos. Now, it was hard to tell with this girl because she was already a very shy personality. She was very sweet and shy and timid personality. And when we were taking the photo shoot, she was nervous. She was saying, I don't know how to pose, and I was trying to direct her. And then at that point, Philip decided to direct her physically by touching her neck, touching her back, and moving her in the way that he wanted her to pose. Now, I'm not going to say this was in a sexual way, but he didn't ask for her consent. She didn't give her a consent. She didn't reject it, but as I said, she was shy and nervous and very difficult to shoot in the first place. So it was hard for me to know if it was really unwanted or what. At the same time, as I mentioned, I did not witness anything in the car or anything there. I was not there for that, but I'm only speaking for what I saw and observed during the photo shoot. And he was there constantly joking about her being his girlfriend, oh my girlfriend, and making lewd remarks. So if he's willing to do that in front of me and in front of whoever else was in that room, then I can't speak for anything else that he did after that. I can only talk about what I observed as witness. Now, shortly after that, I actually approached Auntie Joanna Kitingan for a private meeting. Just asked her to meet up with me, and we met up at ITCC. I saw the report was made on the 21st. I went and talked to Auntie Joanna on the 22nd, according to my messages. The purpose of my talking to Auntie Joanna was not, was more on that I had felt like I was being exploited and our workers were being exploited, and that I was tired. I was so damn tired and exhausted, and my depression was playing up, and I couldn't even go to the doctor because he was holding my passport there, and I was waiting for him to settle the matter of my work pass, but it just wasn't happening. And I couldn't even afford to go if I wanted to go. And I talked to Auntie Joanna, and I said to her regarding the exploitation of his workers, but I also talked to her about that I felt that he was a predator. I felt the way he talked and acted around women was predatorial, and I was upset about this particular girl who was there without her manager, who was there that he was able to somehow bring to the office without anyone being aware of. And then I know also for a fact that Auntie Joanna was not aware. No one was. He was able to somehow bring this girl to the office, breaking all protocol. Then Auntie Joanna explained to me that this girl had actually even made a report. So I said, good, but at that time, she had made the report not to go public with it, not to try and attack it, but she'd made it for her own protection. And this is why I'm really pissed seeing everyone like questioning the date of the report, everything. Her intention was for her own protection, she made the report. And I know for a fact that the Unduk Ngadau committee spoke to her and her manager and asked them, would they like to press charges or anything, and at that point they did not. So that is what maybe clarifies some of the problems that you all are questioning, which you shouldn't really be questioning anyway. But after that, I also felt afraid to even speak to Auntie Joanna, because I asked her to not mention me or anything when she was talking to Philip. However, she did mention me in a dispute about how he treats his workers, and that made me feel fear for my own safety. And since then, I had just kept my head down and stayed quiet. But then that brings me to the event of the KDCA. As we're drawing closer to the event, I saw there's a video that's been going viral, but that video is either edited or very carefully shot to only show one side of things. I was there for that. That particular day, there was a dispute because these committees were being at the mercy of big men-child with their own egos. On one side, you had Atama, who was running Kaamatan TV, and on the other side, you had my boss, who was running the Unduk Ngadau. Both men with massive egos and their own agenda. And this is why I never wanted to even be involved in this. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was forced to because this was my job. So actually on this day, I had sent a message which was under the direction of my boss, which was basically saying that he would provide his own personal security to the event because he wanted things to be done his way. Of course, Itama took offense to that, and their egos obviously got hurt or insulted. However, I had personally called Lisa and talked to her. I apologize if what I said or the way I had put it was inappropriate, but I was explaining that this was how I was being directed to say it. And even after that, I was still being berated by my boss that the way I was saying things was not firm enough, not strong enough. And we had already sorted everything out. I'd already discussed with Lisa, we'd come to an agreement, we realized how we could work together, side by side, everything was sorted. Unfortunately though, when my boss Philip walked into the KDCA, he was met by a tama, and both of them resorted to what it can only be explained as a childish display of stupidity, screaming insults at each other, swearing, just inflating in their chest and trying to see who could, neither of them willing to back down, to yield, to see things from a mature standpoint. And at that point, my name kept coming up as well, and I kept getting blamed for it, which I took an extreme offense to, because I was stuck, and I felt stuck in the middle of all this nonsense that I just didn't want to be in. But that's how it happened. They screamed, they yelled, and then eventually, when I tried to interject, I was rejected, and I realized there was no point because this was obviously not about common sense or reaching agreement. It was just two people trying to prove they were big. But I felt embarrassed. And I even said later to Unduk Joanna, why is it that these people can act this way and I'm the one that feels hurt and embarrassed? Now the problem was that because my boss had made his threat about bringing personal security, Atama was trying to use Rella, the security there, as his own personal security. And then we were being continually harassed by them. Even though we were wearing the badges, which they originally said we couldn't come in because of the badge, so we got the badge. Even though I was wearing two badges, they were still holding my colleagues from coming in. And I was frustrated and felt that it was just not right. But this matter was already settled, and the police were already on location, and we already discussed it. We already came to an understanding. We already talked it out with the police present, and everything was settled from that point on. After that though, I just couldn't even be there. On the day of the final, I just went, I did my task, and then I left. I didn't stay around. I just disappeared. And I've been just sitting in silence wondering what is the right course of action for me to do. Now, as I mentioned, I understand that the risks that I've taken by speaking out this way. And trust me, it's been nothing that I haven't been thinking about every day, to the point that I feel physically sick. And I understand that, and towards the police investigating, I am here. I am willing to make any statement. I am willing to testify in any way. I'm not afraid of that. However, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe, and I not that I was worried about the police in the way they do their job. I'm sure that they do it in a professional way, but given the political nature of this case, and given the fact of my current immigration status, I was worried that that would be used as a distraction. And at least if I talked here now in this live, I could speak without interruption, and I could give things in context. I'm nothing short of traumatized by this whole experience. And I never wanted this. But that's life. And I thought it was better for me to sacrifice myself and my own self-preservation and to speak up and to make sure that girls like this girl were not afraid to speak up. That they would not be afraid to say what has happened to them. And that's why I'm chosen to speak out as well. Because I'm sure I'm going to get attacked for this. I'm sure that it'll be an attempt to discredit me. But all I'm speaking is honest truth. From my heart, from my experience, from my observation. I'm not saying anything beyond that. And I hope that you can all understand that. Well, I know not everyone will understand, and I know there's people that probably hate me for speaking out the way I have right now. But that's the price I have to pay. I love Sabah, and if because of this I am removed from Sabah permanently, it will hurt. And I've thought about that consequence every day. The whole reason I wanted the work pass is to stay here. And I wanted to follow my dreams and to do the things that I thought would promote Sabah and be of benefit. And I never ever expected that I would get caught up in such a disaster. But these are my cards. This is what I've been dealt. And rather than hide them and back down, I'm laying them out on the table. If there is people that can help me, that would be great. But I honestly have no expectations. And this is not about me. This is about girls being willing, women being willing to stand, not just women, men, women, everyone. This culture of politics and fear and intimidation and mafia-like tactics has to end. And this is what I want to say to you, Philip. Because we've talked about this a few times. We've talked about your views on politics, your dreams to become the leader of your party and then eventually the chief minister. But if you treat your own staff in this way, how can you run a country or a state? We both agree on certain things. For instance, you say you want Sabah to be free, independent. Okay, great. But the way to achieve it, I'll never agree. When I said, how do you possibly achieve the way that you want to achieve without a war? You said, let there be a war. But I said, wouldn't it be better to use your money to start businesses, to improve the infrastructure, to make Sabah strong on its own accord first, rather than going that way, rather than going for acts of aggression. I want to make a statement for all of you is to not fear bullies, to not back down, to not speak out, even regardless of what happens to me. Talk out, stand up. Don't lie to protect others as well. I'd like to say that to his staff and everything. If you're being approached by the police, tell the truth. We've all witnessed the way he talks and acts. We all are character witnesses of him, and we can all testify to that. Again, I apologize for any shortcomings of myself. I apologize for the things that anything I may have done in the past, and I apologize for people I've let down. But that's the thing, I'm willing to accept my mistakes, and I always make an effort to try and fix them. And if you feel that way and you come honestly to me with intent, I will always make an attempt to make things right. I hope that this message is received, this statement is received with the intent that it's given. And I hope that those sensible among us are able to understand that what I am talking up about is not for myself, but also for the future of these type of things, these cases in Sabo and so on, that people will be brave enough to stand up and speak out. I apologize if this is not the correct way, but I hope you understand my reasons of why I'm saying that I feel unsafe, and I feel that the only way I could truly say the entire experience in context, the way that I've experienced it and observed it uninterrupted, is by doing it this way. Thank you for those who have always supported me. This may be my last ever live. Time will tell. But I just hope that by doing it this way, speaking out live like I have now, publicly, that things cannot be swept under the carpet, that things cannot be ignored, and that things change. I hope that this has not been for nothing. Thank you again.